Good morning. This is the Blaze World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You get more information, find out about past shows and future shows at my website, which is behind me, blainsworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we focus on different organizations and people in the Western North Carolina area as well as throughout the country. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Tina Hudson, co-founder and president of Animal Haven in Asheville, for being my guest today. And Tina, you can feel free to wave to all your friends and friends who are watching this. Okay.
Hello.
And this is Tina, and this is an organization that she and Barbara Bellows founded this organization back in 2000, a sanctuary for abandoned, abused, and neglected farm animals. And so the question I always ask the first time I meet somebody, Trina, is as a child you grew up where?
Upstate New York.
Okay. And growing up in upstate New York, did you always know you wanted to head a nonprofit organization? Was that your goal in life as a kid?
No, no.
What do you want to do as a kid?
As a kid, I was really into sports, so I thought I'd be, a famous athlete or something. But no, seriously, I really wanted to just help. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help animals. I just wanted to be one of those that gave assistance, regardless of what your situation was.
It's almost too bad you mentioned as a kid, you came along maybe a little too soon because maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, the whole thing opened up for women, in sports.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, you could be playing basketball now and making 10 million, $20 million a year. You missed that. Were you a basketball player as a kid?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
was.
you
Yeah.
missed your opportunity. So you always like animals, you always want to help people. Did you have animals as a kid?
Yes, we had cats and dogs.
Okay, how many?
Oh gosh, we had one dog and then we had numerous cats.
Okay. So,
Numerous.
so you grew up as a kid. Do you still have cats and dogs?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many do you have?
I have four dogs. They were all rescues, but they live here permanently at Animal Haven. Two are Irish Wolfhounds. One is a poodle mix, and another one is a Shih Tzu. And then right now we have three cats. Four cats, sorry.
Because it's interesting speaking to you, we always have cats at our house, but my wife now wants to get a dog for the first time. And
Hmm.
so we're worried, and you can help reassure me, but I'm just a little worried, how will they get along? That because the cat's always been by itself, never had a companion. But I guess you being an example, they can get along or adjust.
They can. It would be Blaine a very slow introduction of the dog into the cat's world,
Right.
because she thinks this is her house. You
Right.
are her people. So it would be a very slow introduction, but it could work. Yeah.
Okay, well, you being an example of this. So, talk then a little bit about the fact that you grew up in school. Did you study anything about animals or animal husbandry, or was that your goal to be in the field?
No, no, I didn't. Just it was if it there was anything that I studied, it was general. It was offered. It wasn't something I picked out specifically. And
So,
when I went to college, I ended up, of course, back then majoring in sociology, but specializing in gerontology, working with older people.
and so in part of your career, your life, did you work with older people?
Yes. Yeah, I sure did. Yes.
And I guess also it'll come back into play though. So I guess you'll be working with, or you do work with older animals as well.
Hmm.
Is there a relationship, or I guess, do animals age the same as people age?
There is, and the fact that, a lot of times, like in nursing homes in particular, sometimes the family takes the family member there and leaves them, and
Right.
they have nobody. Or they're in such a state that they can't speak for themselves. So, because they're nonverbal or whatnot. And yeah, as they get older, there's more problems, and whether it's family members for a person or for a dog or cat, some don't want to deal with it. So they're like, we're a disposable society, Blaine. And it's easy just to say, nope, I've done enough.
It's interesting you say that because I'm thinking out loud, and it's almost too bad that there can't be more where older individuals hang with older pets as well. It seems such a natural tie-in Yet
Hmm.
many times, most places, right, as somebody, as an individual gets older, they're not allowed to have pets. Occasionally I've seen cats are allowed, but wouldn't that be great for them if they could,
Oh,
you
that
know,
would be excellent. And we get a lot of calls for asking if we have cats or dogs for adoption, which we don't do anymore. We just, specialize in farm animals. But and most of the people that are older say, I don't want a kitten. I don't want a
right, right.
puppy because
That's
I don't
us.
want it to outlive me. Um, they do when I was before I started working with animals, I started a pet therapy program way back in the early 80s, or late 80s, I'm sorry, and brought them into nursing homes. And
Very nice.
it was there. I'll never forget. There was one lady. Her name was Frida Franz. Never spoke, not a word. And I had a puppy, and I brought it up and set it in her lap. And she moved her hand and started petting the puppy. And then she said, "I used to have one when I was younger." I mean, we were all just like, "Oh my gosh, you just talked." But that's the power of animals.
Very cool. So talk a little bit about then what happened. So you were in you've had other careers, other jobs you've had, but I saw we mentioned 2000, you started with Barbara Billows, this sanctuary. And
Yes.
so the thing I asked you off the air, I'll just kind of repeat it, is I'm very amazed when I heard that. So when you started that, you were like the youngest person who ever started a sanctuary in the state of North Carolina. Can you imagine you were 7 or 8 then? Was that it?
Yeah, right, right. Oh, I tell people how I was a baby when we started this, but it takes its toll on you, but it's worth it. I mean, it's definitely worth it.
Well, think about that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So 2025 years, you told me off the air, and we'll talk about it. You celebrated, you had a big anniversary of the 25th year of being in
Yes,
business. So
yes.
what was the idea behind Animal Sanctuary? So you were working other careers and jobs. What gave you the idea to start the two of you to start an animal sanctuary?
Well, we both, I mean, Barbara, if you had known her, I mean, she was born with, it was in her blood to be with animals. And she had always wanted to have her own sanctuary or shelter or whatnot. And I went along with her, and I wanted the same thing. And we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and it just kind of fell in our lap, so to speak.
So talk about the idea of why an animal sanctuary? Or you just decided to have some land and just invite animals to come to your place? How'd that work out?
Well, what happened was we had been up here for a few years, and Barbara and I had worked in different animal service capacities for over 30 years. Whether it was a cruelty investigator, animal control, a shelter worker, we also worked with American Humane doing disaster relief. Um, and when we got up here, we saw that there wasn't any
Right.
sanctuary or shelter that was rescuing farm animals. And we saw that there was such a need for it because a lot of times, whether it was a stray goat or a sheep or a potbelly pig would come into the shelter, and through no fault of their own, they couldn't humanely house them. So we saw that need. And then we also saw where at times cases of cruelty weren't being pursued or charges weren't being pursued because they had no place to put the farm animals while it was going through the court system.
And so come 2000, you had some land or where you were living, or how'd that work?
We found out about some property, this property where we are. It was in the lady's will to be deeded to a nonprofit animal welfare organization. So Barbara and I made our presentation to the executor, and he accepted it. And on May 20th, 2000, we signed the deed.
Boy, so you were really at the right place at the right time
Yes. Yep.
when that happened. So I mean, that's pretty cool. So you then got this land. How many acres is it?
It's not quite 10 acres.
Okay, very nice though.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm so impressed with the story. So you got the land and you just then open your doors, or what happened at that point in time?
Well, for the first year or so, Blaine, because the woman that owned the property had been very ill and under hospice care. So the property was just in total disrepair. There was a house on the property too, which was it was livable if you were Barb or I. We could manage it. So we spent the first year and a half just cleaning up the property. Um, the grass was so tall we didn't realize there was a pond on the property. There's a beautiful spring-fed pond. So that's what we did for the first year and a half, and getting ourselves organized as far as the articles of incorporation, a board of directors, and that, and cleaning up the property.
So at that point in time, you weren't housing any animals, is that correct?
No, no.
Okay. And so what happened then, year and a half later, and like I said, it does take time. You opened the gates and had a big old welcome party, or what happened?
Well, what happened, Blaine, was because we were the only organization that did farm animal rescue in February of 2001, I think 2001. Anyway, shortly after we opened, WLOS contacted us. They were up in Madison County, where a lot of pigs, potbelly pigs, had been abandoned, and wanted to know if we could help out. So we spent the weekend with help, of course, Barbara and I, and volunteers up there in Madison County, chasing pigs, catching them, bringing them back here. And we ended up that weekend taking in 107 animals.
Oh, well, almost all pigs, or they were all pigs?
71 of them were potbelly pigs.
Well, now, prior to that, had you ever had any experience or working with potbelly pigs?
No, no,
So,
we we just kind of learned as we went, you
so what
know.
gave you the idea? Just because WLS was telling so where were they available? You had to pick them up or capture them, or how'd you
Oh
get them?
yeah, we had to go and pick them up. I mean, we had to drive to Madison County every day. We had carriers. We had lots of people helping us because, of course, with the TV coverage, word got out. And yeah, we would catch the pigs and put them in a carrier and then bring them here to the sanctuary and release them. I
I mean,
mean, in a fenced area, of
I was
course.
going to ask you. So that must be quite something. So here, one day you have no pigs, and all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, you have 71 pigs running around. You mentioned also there are others. So what other animals were running around at that time?
There were a couple dogs with puppies. Let's see, there were a couple goats. There were doves. And there were some chickens.
Now, you told me also, so your emphasis is not on the dogs at this point in time. Is that correct?
No, no,
So
it's not.
what
Yeah.
kind of animals is it the emphasis on?
Right now, what we have, I mean, we pretty much do everything but horses or llamas or alpacas. But we have 24 potbelly pigs now. We've got 17 goats, 6 sheep, a cow, 2 geese, chickens, the dogs, and the cats. And we've had guinea pigs, we've had turkeys. So it just depends on what they're asking for or who needs help when the phone rings.
Now, I want to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer this completely, but all these animals, do they all have names?
Yes,
And now the tough question, do you know the names of all of
yes, sometimes I get them mixed up, but
them?
I correct myself eventually.
Or let me ask you, when you got the 71 originally, did you then have to go out and give them names?
The 71
Yeah.
that we rescued,
Yeah, when you started.
um, some we gave names because we could tell them apart. But
Right.
Blaine, there were so many, and they were pretty much all black, or they were black and white, and they were running around. I don't know if you realize how fast pigs can run, but they can run fast. So they're running all around, and every morning when Barb and I went out there to check on them and do the chores and stuff, there was another litter because they didn't get them spay or neutered, so they were having babies after babies. So
Now,
no, we didn't name all of them.
so, pig one, like George Foreman, they give everybody a name George, or pig one, pig two, whatever. Are those the original group? So how long do the pigs live typically?
Oh, a potbelly pig, 10 to 15 years.
So obviously they're not around, but do they have any other pigs, any babies, and do you still have any of the original?
No,
No,
no.
not the originals, but did they give birth to other pigs?
Oh, those pigs did, yes.
So did they stay with you on the?
They did. But what we did too, Blaine, was because we weren't in a position because it happened so quickly to
Sure.
really take care of everything and have the proper housing and that. So we networked with sanctuaries all over the country and Texas, Missouri, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And they would call and say, okay, we could take 2 potbelly pigs or we can take 6. And then, male or female. And they would come here with their trailer or van or whatever form of transportation and pick those up and take them back to their sanctuary to live the rest of their lives.
Now, what's the intent? So if you mentioned the number of pets you have now, is the intent to then get them, are they going to stay with you the rest of their lives, or is the intent to move them on elsewhere?
Well, I mean, they are available for adoption, but most of them, most times, and Barb and I knew this, they weren't going to be adopted because we don't adopt any animal out for eating or breeding. So a lot of people don't see a pig as a pet, which is too bad because they're great,
I've
or
heard
a
that,
goat
yeah.
or a sheep or something like that.
So the intent of the sanctuary is just have them live a good life the rest of their
Mhm.
lives. Is that it?
Yes. Yep. If they're not adopted, they live the rest of their lives here.
Okay, very sweet. And so, well, I'm really glad you're on board because, again, frankly, I hadn't heard of you, even though my producer had heard of you. And I
Uh-huh.
guess your goal is to get the word out. And the goal is to what? Invite more people to have their pets there, not their pets, their animals there? Or what's the goal of this?
The goal is to make people aware that, farm animals are sentient beings as well, that they have feelings and of pain and pleasure, just like dogs and cats. And what's so nice, Blaine, is that we're maybe 10 minutes from city, outside downtown. So we have a lot of school groups that come out here from kindergartners on up. And a lot of them have been around dogs and cats, but 90% of them have never given a belly rub to a potbelly pig or seen a turkey or it's amazing. They go in the chicken coop and collect the eggs, and I would say to them, or Barb would, well, this is where the eggs come from that are in the grocery store. And they're like, no, no, because they don't know any different. So
Well,
that's what we really like, is getting the children out here.
so you mentioned the eggs. So these are turkeys you have or
Chickens.
chickens? So you have how many chickens now?
Right now we only have 8.
Okay, but they produce eggs, is that correct?
Yes.
And so what do you do with those eggs?
Either we usually a lot of times we'll feed them right back to the chickens.
Okay,
They love to eat the eggs, and the shells are good for them because it has the calcium in
okay. And do they have a preference like fried or poached? How they want?
it. No, as long as it's cracked and they can get into it.
Oh no, that's interesting. So I never thought of that. That's really cool. So they produce their own food in large part?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that process too, not only the chickens, but the pigs, everybody else. Probably have quite an extensive feed bill, or the chickens raise their own stuff. But like, what do pigs eat typically?
The potbelly pigs have a special food. It's potbelly pig food, usually made by Missouri or Nature's Harvest. They're different brand names. And yeah, it's expensive. A 20-pound bag is about $24.
So talk about that process then. So aside from having the sanctuary, you also have to, I guess, at some point in time, raise funds or bring in
Yes.
money to feed all these animals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
also,
we don't,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
We don't receive any city, county, or state funding. So we rely on our fundraisers that we have. We have an on-site thrift shop where all the money that we make there goes to the animals because Blaine, we're volunteer based, so nobody gets a salary here. So the money that we make, whether through a fundraiser or the thrift shop or whatnot, goes to the animals. It doesn't go to salary.
We'll talk about
And
no, I understand too that it's a lovely thrift shop, and that thrift shop is open to anybody.
yes, yep, yep. And the sanctuary is also open, to the public. We want people to come and, meet the animals and find out about farm animals and see what, a potbelly pig is like or a sheep or whatnot. And we don't charge. We ask for a donation when people come, or if a group comes, we ask for a donation. But We want it to be free to the public so that they will come and learn about farm
Talk
animals.
about people finding out more about the sanctuary. So I guess you have a website or Facebook page.
Yes. Yeah, we have a website, Animal Haven of Asheville, and Facebook to go with it. And volunteers take care of that. Not me. I'm not that savvy.
Well,
So,
you say that. I found that hard to believe, though. After you did such a great job, we were having technical difficulties before the show began, and boy, within seconds you figured it out. So it's harder than you think you are on that. So maybe your next career that you'll be a tech wizard, you know.
maybe, probably not.
Yes. So you mentioned, by the way, which is cool. So you work with volunteers as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. We have a great volunteer group. A lot of them have been with us, 5, 10 years. Some have been with us 20 years. And it's like they do the Facebook, they do Instagram, they take care of the website. They come out in the mornings to do chores. Some just do the thrift shop. Some do both. Some do our special events. And another one, Diane Van Helden, she puts together our newsletter. So, which we put out once a year, but we're going to start doing that twice a year.
So if people want to find out about volunteer opportunities, what's the best bet?
They can get on our website, animalhavenofasheville.org, and they will see one of the categories is volunteer, and just click on that, and there'll be an application. And I will receive that application and then call them and talk to them about when and how and where and all that to get them going.
Now, in terms of volunteer, so versus volunteers versus you as well, it's the reality of this is a 24/7 operation, right? That
Yes.
you I'm
Yes.
laughing at a buddy of mine grew up on a farm and he couldn't wait to enter the service. He graduated high school. Next day he joined the service because his father was ready to kill him because he did it to escape the farm, to
Mhm.
escape taking the animal care of the
Mhm.
animals. So that's a
Right.
big responsibility, right? No matter what, somebody has to feed the animals or take
Right.
care of the animals
Yeah,
20.
regardless of the weather or how you're feeling or whatnot. But it's like I tell the volunteers too, Blaine, it's an honor to be able to serve these animals, to help them get their health back or recover from their injury. And it's a responsibility that the volunteers know if they come here, that's what they're taking on, that they're helping and assisting with taking care of these animals and making sure that they thrive.
Do you have people help you out on that? Meaning that so you don't have to get like what time animals get up at what time?
Oh well, the pigs will start screaming if I want to put it that way, early. But I have the volunteers here at 8 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning.
nice.
And then it's usually a couple hours of light farm work. It's all outside. We feed the animals, we clean their habitats, give them fresh water, and anything else that may need to be done.
Talk to me with Barbara then about, excuse me, I'll get the name right. Talk about the two things that you mentioned to me off the air. You just had the 25th anniversary, Trina. And so what
Yes.
was that like? What happened at that event?
It was quite phenomenal. I've never seen so many people um, out here as there was that day. I would say anywhere from 300 to 400 people were
Wow.
here. Yeah, and we had a little blessing because we had a new bridge built because of Helene. We lost our bridge, so a volunteer built a new bridge for us, and so we had a blessing of the bridge and had a food trucks out here, and people were just able to go around and visit with the animals.
But you mentioned Helene. Were you impacted by Helene and how
Yes.
did it affect you?
Yeah, we were very fortunate compared to so many others in the community, but yet we have a creek that runs through the property, and I've never seen it as high as it got. Um, from Helene. And I knew we were going to be in trouble because it's flooded before, but not nearly as much as it did this time. But with all the rain we got prior to Helene coming, I started moving animals into the
Wow.
basement of the house because it's up higher, the house is. So I put birds and geese in that in the basement, and the rest were far enough away from the creek that it wouldn't have affected them. I didn't think. Well, it didn't. I mean, we got lucky, but there's at least 2 feet of water over across the field, and the bridge got washed away. Lots of trees down, but we didn't lose any animals. We didn't
Thank
lose any
goodness. Wow.
buildings. You
Great.
know,
Now you
so we
mentioned
were
too,
lucky.
you're in a house. Is that the same house that you found when you first got there 25 years ago? Before you
It's not
moved?
anymore. One of
Oh no.
our, not anymore. One of our volunteers, and he got some help. And Joe Gurley. I mean, he's been instrumental in keeping us going over here and taking care of little problems and that. But he redid the whole house.
Oh, where you are now.
Yeah.
But was it on the same bones as where the house
Yes.
was when you? Oh, that's great though.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Because I mean, Blaine, when we came in here, Barb and I, there was a big hole in the kitchen ceiling from the attic. That the walls were about 3 inches separated from the floors. And if there's a good storm, mud would be coming in. So it wasn't a place where a lot of people would live. But we did it for about 20 years and then met up with Joe and he said, "Here, let me help you out."
Lovely. Talk about moving forward. So we have 25 years under our belt. By the way, two things moving forward. So you were telling me off there, you also have one other big event coming up, was in October. What's happening in October?
That's our annual fall fundraiser. And this year we're dedicating it to Barb.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely.
and we are trying to raise money to build a barn in her honor. And it would be a very nice barn. She always wanted one with electric and water and, separate stalls and that, a little medical room and that. So October 26th, it's a Sunday from 1 to 6 is the fundraiser. And we have live music. We've got all kinds of vegan food. We'll have tours of the farm and a silent auction.
Very
So it's a
nice.
lot of fun. A lot of fun.
And you mentioned very exciting. So that's cool. So the goal is not only have one, but each of the animals have their own little stall, their own little bathroom.
Yeah, like I mean, not the bill. They go wherever they want to. But it's like if we get a new animal in, we can quarantine it.
Lovely.
Until we get the vet to come out and make sure she is okay before we mix them in with the ones that are already here. So there's no spread of disease.
And I guess I don't know if it's on the website, but I guess is that something you also look for vets who will work with you, or you always looking for vets?
Yeah, we have a mobile vet, a farm vet that comes out here, and we've been with him for almost 25 years. So we have a really good relationship.
Okay. And I'll give a shout out. Who is that? If you want to
Uh,
mention?
Foothills Large Animal Hospital,
Okay,
Dr.
lovely.
Justin Jernigan, and that's in Nebo, North Carolina. But he comes up here to Buncombe County all the time.
How far is that from you?
Oh, it's about 30 minutes.
Okay, but nice you have it available.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a straight shot down 40.
And one
So
last question, you were mentioning that you work with volunteers. So talk about the kind of volunteers you're looking for. By the way, ballpark, how many volunteers do you have?
about 40, 45.
Oh, quite a lot, which is incredible. When you're looking for a volunteer, what are you looking for?
Um, the first thing is they gotta love animals. That's the reason that they want to volunteer is because they want to be with the animals. It's not a fun job necessarily, as far as there's a lot of cleaning involved in that. So it's not, oh, we'll just come and pet the animals. Yeah,
Right.
you will when the work is done. So compassion. They've got to have compassion for the animals and not be afraid of getting dirty.
Is there an age limit you're looking for volunteers?
Um, yeah, we started about 16.
Okay, nice.
16 is the youngest. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they have it I think they have in West North Carolina. Do they have 4-H programs?
At the schools, yes,
Yeah.
they
Do
do.
you get
Yeah.
any of those folks involved?
Not necessarily. We've had the Eagle Scouts
Okay.
involved. In fact, the one bridge that just got washed away by Helene, an Eagle Scout built for us, and it was top of the line bridge. And they've done picnic tables and stuff like that. We've had Girl Scouts that will raise money or collect food for us. We've had rehab centers out here to do work and stuff. And college kids, Warren Wilson, they come out a lot.
By the way, you mentioned, if you give him a shout out, the one person who built that bridge, that person's name?
Brad Cookson.
Okay, phenomenal that, you got
Oh,
some,
yeah. Yeah.
that's great. So kudos to him. And one last
Yes.
time, Trina, to recap, the website is what?
Animalhavenofasheville.org.
Okay. And you're located where?
We're in East Asheville at 65 Lower Grassy Branch Road, right off of Tunnel Road.
And so if folks want to come visit Best Bet, they can check the website. Are there regular hours or they call by appointment?
No, there's no appointment needed. We have regular hours of Wednesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's both for the sanctuary and the thrift shop.
Okay, super. And so you're inviting people to come over as often as they want?
Yeah, yeah, because the people really enjoy it too. It's not, a lot of the people have said that, this is a refuge for people as well as the animals. It's very peaceful and serene and healing. And, if you're having a tough day, what better thing to do than, pet a cow or give a potbelly pig a belly rub?
Okay. Well, anyway, you're tempting me here. I'd like to thank you for being my guest on this edition of the Blaine's World website. Also, I'd like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and just please continue doing whatever you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Um, hopefully we'll see you again at the 50th, 25 years
Yeah,
from now.
yeah.
That's the
Thank you
goal.
for the invitation, Blaine. I appreciate it.
Great. Likewise. Speak to you soon. Be well.
Bye bye.